Hello, friends. Welcome back. We are going to be doing episode 146 today, chapter 14, verses 6 and 7, a small description of Sattva and Rajas. Lou, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Looking forward to this. Like I said, I'm just enjoying the hell out of this chapter right now.
So, we said last episode that if you wanted to write to me directly, you could write on Gita Memoirs of a Psychiatrist at gmail.com. And Lou will, at the end of this, describe all of the ways in which you can communicate with us, including just plain email.
Right.
So today we're going to be talking about Rajas and Sattva, Sattva and Rajas. I would request you, if you haven't listened to earlier episodes, go back 4, 5, 6 episodes and please listen to them so that this becomes a little clearer, because otherwise, without that, this might be a little harder to comprehend. Sattva, essentially in Sanskrit, it means being, just being, sattva. You know how we say that dharma means the nature of. All these gunas are our dharma. This is our nature. We are composed purely of gunas. That is our matrix. Even the 24 components, the 31 components that the Gita says you're made of, nitrogen, hydrogen, all of these different things, they're made of gunas.
Right.
Gunas, we talked about last time, is the Sanskrit word for guna is string. The meaning is string. And that this is the vibrations of these gunas that create matter, that create us, that create our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings. Everything is gunas. So the being, the dharma of us is our gunas. This is us. But in purity, sattva is the essence, clarity, light, knowledge, peace, love, compassion, happiness. All of these things fall under the term of sattva. The experience of I am is the clearest, as we talked about in the previous episode, when you're sattvic, when you're in sattva. Rajas is described as excessive desire-ridden activity. Not just activity, because the sattvic person can be active too, but the rajasic person spins his wheels a lot in order to accomplish a little bit. Here, the movement is a lot in Rajas, and the results are not as much as the movements are. Whereas the sattvic person, whatever his movements are, will produce activity and results in very little activity, because they're all very efficient. Everything is efficient with sattva. With Rajas, because there's so much passion and desire in it, the activity is not as fruitful.
Right.
So desires, passion, anger, arrogance, ego, movement, projection, imagination, all desire-ridden activity is Rajas. The I am experience is less clear in Rajas because of the fact that one is involved in activity. The Rajasic person is attached, very much attached to what he has, and very much desirous of what he doesn't have. So there's so many different classifications because everything in this world is sattva and rajas and tamas. It is hard to say how much to describe these gunas. But just as one example, because it is, I want to possess what I don't have, and I desire what I don't have, and I want to preserve what I do have, there arises through desire the feeling of jealousy. So I have my spouse, but she is enjoying talking to somebody else, or somebody else is entertaining her or being close to her, and both of them are laughing. I want to retain what I have and maybe possess what I don't have. That jealousy comes about. That jealous emotion is known as a rajasic emotion. Tamas, lastly, is darkness, inertia, ignorance, inactivity, all I's. Just like I often remember with Rajas, it's all A's, action-oriented.
Yeah.
And Tamas, it's all ignorance, I. No activity, inactivity, inaction, inertia, forgetfulness, drowsiness, laziness, ignorance, sadness, depression, sorrow, all of this constitutes tamas. And as I said in one of the earlier episodes, the time of day prior to sunrise for an hour or two, very short, maybe 2 hours, is pure sattva, sattvic time. So if you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, an hour or two before sunrise, you'll see the most sattvic feelings arise in you. From sunrise to sunset is rajas, longest period of time. You're very active. You want to do things, desire-ridden activities. And after sunset, or just around sunset, till you go to bed, or till 4 o'clock in the morning, is all tamas, laziness, inertia. Now, very important that although the three of them walk together, rajas, tamas, and sattva, walk together, they're not friends. They don't like each other. Not only that the gunas not like each other, if a sattvic person is next to a rajasic person, the rajasic person doesn't like that sattvic person.
Right.
The tamasic person doesn't like the rajasic person. So you can tell that each one doesn't like two. So what happens when you're married to somebody like that? Let's say you are very rajasic, right? Very active oriented. You get up in the morning, before you even get out of bed, your mind is racing to say, what all do I have to do today? Suppose your spouse, your partner, is very lazy, just gets up, stretches, doesn't want to do anything, says, just lays in bed, say, can you bring me a cup of coffee in my bed, please?
Yeah.
The rajasic person is irritated. He says, come on, get out of bed already, move. That irritation between a rajasic person and a tamasic person, between a rajasic person and a sattvic person, between the other two, rajasic and tamasic and sattvic, is common. And that's a reason why a lot of people don't get along with people that have more prominent gunas of the other kind.
Right.
Lou, I hear a lot of echo as I'm speaking, a lot of disturbance. Do you hear it?
I do not hear it, no.
Okay, good. I hope you as listeners don't hear it, but if you do, let Lou and me know. We'll see what we can do. It's very, very disturbing and distracting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, so the rajasic person and the sattvic person and tamasic person don't get along with each other. They don't like each other. Gunas cannot be seen, just like strings in string theory cannot be seen. Like a season, if you say spring, I say, what does spring look like? You say, no, I can only tell you the effects of spring. That when there's spring, as it is now, towards the latter part of spring, the leaves come out from bare trees, the flowers come out, the grass is green as it's starting to come back. You only see the effects of the spring. You cannot see spring. Similarly, you can see the effects of gunas, but you cannot see the gunas. You can see the picture on the screen of a TV, you cannot see the pixels. You can see a movie, you cannot see the pixels. You cannot see the mind or the intellect or the gunas. You can experience the thoughts or the dream. You can see the dream, you can experience the thoughts, you can experience the emotions. So keep that in mind. We each have all three gunas inside each one of us. When we look at somebody else, the gunas become clear to us. You say, oh, he's a very sattvic person, has a lot of sattva. This one is a very rajasic person. Unfortunately, you don't see that much in yourself. Other people say, oh, you're lazy, you're tamasic. But you say, no, I'm not. I'm rajasic, because you do have those qualities inside you. But you tend to focus on those that you want to see. If you want to bring out, here's the key factor. If you want to bring out, let's say, a sattvic environment in you, then you have to be two things. As I said in the last episode, one is the environment, and the second is the companionship. So if you want to be in a sattvic environment, if you go and sit in a temple, I've been in many temples when I was in India, and there are temples where you have kids running up and down, making a lot of noise, people laughing and joking. That's not very peaceful. But there are temples where it's the priests are very strict, and they don't let you make a lot of noise or distract other people who are sitting there meditating. That can be a very peaceful environment. Just going to a beach before all the crowds get there, sitting there enjoying the waves, the sound of the waves and the ocean is very peaceful. Nature. So you get to be sattvic. Sattvic thoughts come to your mind. If you want to be rajasic and you're on Wall Street, high stress, corporate, money, sound of casinos, cash registers, that becomes very rajasic. You go to a bar or a drug den or a nightclub, that's very tamasic. That's the environment. Now, there's a story of Buddha, many stories about Buddha, and Jesus, who are so self-realized, so sattvic, when other people come into contact with them, then they also become sattvic. So there was this real demon, a bad guy. He was called Angulimal. Anguli means finger. And what he used to do is if he saw somebody on the highway, he would kill them, he would rob them, and take a finger and tie it around a necklace around his neck. And that's why he was called Angulimal, because he had a necklace of fingers around his neck. When he saw Buddha, he immediately felt initially that he was going to hurt him, but then there was just this feeling of utter peace and happiness that emanated from Buddha, that he threw himself down, prostrated in front of him, and then became one of his greatest disciples. So the point is that if you see a self-realized master and you sit down next to him, he's at so much peace that those vibes carry on to you and you become peaceful. And you know the exact opposite is true, that if you're feeling peaceful and the guy next to you is constantly moving, shaking up and down, getting up and down, putting a cigarette in his mouth, pacing, what happens to you? You start to feel disturbed. You start to feel restless yourself. So those vibes carry on. So sitting, being, living, working next to a calm, cool, sattvic person is an important thing. So where you keep your company, when you're at work, when you're at home, when you're on weekends by yourself, is a key factor here. So when you have a sattvic mind, let me just talk a little bit about villages and cities. Just another example.
Oh, another great example, yeah.
When I was in India, when I lived in India, we had to be posted in villages when we were in medical school. We had to go and spend a certain amount of time. When I went to the villages, everything was just so peaceful and calm. You could just spend lots of time and it just felt like time just didn't move. If you went to talk to somebody, they were just sitting there, very peaceful, relaxed, calm, and maybe lazy. Just everything moved very slowly. If you got on suddenly were whisked into, say, New York City or Bombay,
Right.
zip, 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 cars are moving, people are walking fast, talking fast, everything is fast, fast. You tend to get agitated. And I think each one of you must have experienced this. So it is crucial for you to recognize the environment in which you put yourself most of the time, because that environment will prevent you from becoming the kind of sattvic person that you want to become. So just be careful. When your mind is sattvic, when you're full with sattva, your intuition, keep in mind, your intuition, your happiness, your knowledge increases many, many fold. So just be aware of that. You're able to pick up things. You're able to intuitively sense things. You're able to see things and know things. Your happiness increases and people see that around you. Same thing happens when you're rajasic or tamasic. Now, how do you get from tamas to rajas and from rajas to sattva? Swami Vivekananda has been known to say, somebody said to him, "What should I do, Swami? What should I do?" And he said, "Take a soccer ball, go out and play soccer." He said, called it football, because in India they called it football.
Yeah.
And everybody said, what is he talking about? What he's saying is, get off your butt and go and be active. Get off your tamas and become rajasic. That's the first step. How do you get from rajasic to tamasic? And this will stop here with this. to get from rajas to tamas, if you're full of energy and activity, and that activity is desire ridden, switch it from desire ridden activity to non desire ridden activity. That will help you get to sattva. So, whatever activity you do, if you do it as a karma yoga, meaning you're doing the activity, but you're doing it for other people, for other reasons than selfish, then you're converting your rajas to sattva, and you tend to become less selfish, selfless, and your action becomes more karmic, more karma yoga. So that will help you. I hope you found this of some interest.
This is more about this point of us all being one, because it sounds like you submerge yourself in certain vibrations. You're just going to assume those vibrations. It's all being part of Brahman again, right? It's all you assume the vibrations around you. So be careful what you surround yourself with.
Yes, you have to be careful. You are what you think. You are what you surround yourself by. So those vibes are very, very important. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Lou.
All right, we have a new email address, Gita, Memoirs of a Psychiatrist @gmail. It is down at the bottom of the screen. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can find the audio-only podcasts most everywhere you find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, among the big ones. Stitcher is there as well. We get a lot of listeners on Stitcher. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you can find us on Facebook at Gita, Memoirs of a Psychiatrist, and that's a really good place to communicate with us as well. You can see the videos, so it's great. Lots of places to find us.
Thank you so much, friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.